Hey guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today I'm going to be looking at a game called Spy Hunter, and I just recently picked this one up on the Atari 2600. That's it there. Now I was trying to decide how I wanted to do this. Originally I was thinking of doing a comparison video, which I might still do, because I have, now that I have the 2600 version, I also have it on the Nintendo. And of course on the Commodore 64, where I originally learned about this game and originally played it. Unfortunately, I never had the opportunity to play it anywhere else. I've never played it on in the arcades or anything like that. I don't even know if I've even seen an arcade for this one. They exist. I'm just saying that I never played on one. But I was also thinking, there's something interesting about this one. And it requires you to use not just one, but two Atari joysticks to play it. And there's a reason for that. You need to be able to do two different weapons at, almost at the same time. You need to be able to control the guns at the front, and then throughout the game you pick up a secondary weapon, which you can use, but you need to use the other joystick to launch it. Now that's obvious because the Atari 2600, the original, only had one button. So games or creators had to get creative when it came to how do we operate these games that require more than one fire button. And so they've used things like the switches off the actual Atari system itself. So you can actually flick toggle switches, the difficulty switches. Ghostbusters, for instance, on the Atari 2600. To activate certain features, you have to use the switches. Space Shuttle on the Atari 2600 all uses the control on the actual Atari. Now that's fine in stuff for certain games, but in a game like Spy Hunter, where you're a car, it's a car racing, essentially, style game, it's a lot of fast motion, and you don't have a whole lot of time to sit there and flick switches. Now, for some reason on the Commodore 64, I was able to do it with the keyboard. Like, you need to actually push a button on the keyboard to activate those. But, I mean, in all fairness, when you're playing in the Commodore 64, oftentimes you're sitting right in front of it. It wasn't too much of a deal. But when you're playing the Atari, you're usually not sitting right in front of it. You're sitting off the side or wherever, and you've got your hands on the joystick. So the only other option would be to have the other joystick hooked up. Now, the problem is, how do you do that? How do you operate two joysticks at the same time? So apparently, when I looked into this game, there was something that was sold along with the game. I've never seen one, so I have no idea what it looks like, but apparently it would strap the two together and make one big joystick. That's interesting, and it made me think. I was checking with the awesome guys on Atari Age. I said, so how do I, what can I do to play two joysticks at the same time? And people were giving all different ideas. Duct taping them together, suction cups, get those joysticks with suction cups, put it on a table. I mean, all great ideas. Velcro straps, things like that. But for me, I don't have a table really in front of me. I don't have a TV table or anything that I play in front of. I literally just play right beside the TV, and there's nothing there. So I would have to, put it on my knee. So I'd be holding onto one, and this would be kind of, sitting on my knee while I'm trying to play. The other problem is I'm playing, now all of a sudden I have to reach down and push a button. It's so awkward. I mean, I was just like, there's got to be a way. So I thought, how did we do this type of stuff when we were kids? We got clever and we looked for stuff around the house to make things work. And that's what I did. So I started looking around, and I found an old shoe box from my daughter's shoes. Now, if you recognize this happy little character, that's Dora the Explorer. And what I did was I thought, well, if it's big enough to hold the joystick, I'm like, hey, it is. I measured it. I looked at it. I'm like, hey, they fit. I ran into a problem, though, the wire. The wires don't work for you when you're sitting in a shoebox. So what I did was I got my knife, got a blade here, and I just cut some notches in there. Now, the first thing I thought about was, which way is it going to be better? Should I have them kind of like this? I guess I'll have to turn that around. Like that. So when I'm playing it, I got both buttons here, or should I turn it around? And I thought, so it would be like this. I thought maybe this would be more natural. So I cut a notch on one side and a notch on the other. You'll see it there. I got a notch and a notch. And I originally looked at it and I put the joysticks in. They fit fine. It was perfect. And I'm like, but wait a minute. When I'm playing, it's going to be awkward to hit a button. You know, let's see if I can show you how it looked like. So this is what I had. I mean, it's primitive, but it was, you know, it was working. So I'm holding the joystick here. I got this, but this one's all the way down here. So I thought this is kind of an odd thing. It would be more natural if the button was back up here. So I had to get my knife again, cut another notch in there, which I did. Now I got the joysticks like this, almost like a tray. I mean, it's holding it. Now if I hold it with one hand, like I would normally hold the joystick, I have the other button there. And I thought, well, how am I going to, now, you know, am I going to, you know, go between the two? And I thought, well, this is actually pretty perfect for my pinky finger. I mean, you know, pinky finger's just sitting there. Why not? So this works. I mean, it's primitive. It's a girl's shoebox. The other problem I ran into, it's very flimsy cardboard. I mean, this could all be solved with better materials, but this is what I had to work with. So I thought I need to reinforce it. So what did I do? I found another thing of my daughter's, a pencil. I mean, what better than a wooden pencil to reinforce a flimsy cardboard box? Anyways, yeah, so I taped the pencil to the bottom. Now when I'm holding it like this. I got that in there, and I got that in there. Now I have one joystick to hold on to and hit the button with my finger. It's crazy, but it works. I mean, it's not pretty. Well, maybe it is pretty. I don't know. It's purple. But it's not what we would want in our man cave anyways. But it's a quick thing that I just threw together to make it function. I mean, form over, you know, or function over form, or whatever you want to call it. I did run into this kind of issue where it's flappy here. Kind of funny. But all that could be fixed. I mean, I could reinforce it. I could put paper mache. I could color it. I could put Star Wars stickers on it. Atari stickers, whatever. I mean, I'm not going to do that, but whatever. This was just so I can actually play the game properly with the two joysticks without sitting on my lap. Anyways, let's move on to the game now that I've shown you my primitive cutout. So, Spy Hunter, essentially what I've already talked about, it's a car game. You're shooting things in your way, and it's continual. So there's no end to it, but you're just trying to get the highest score. So, let's give it a try. I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to see if this goofy thing that I made works, and see if I can actually play Spy Hunter. Alright, so we got a Spy Hunter. Aside from the soundtrack, I mean, the opening screen's a little bit dull. I mean, it just has the, I guess, the road sides, and it's got the blue bars, and, well, I guess it's changing colors. And 1983 to tell you when it was made. But other than that, yeah, not too exciting. So we're going to give this homemade joystick holder I just kind of threw together. Very rough, I don't know, joystick holder you want to call it. Anyways, let's give it a whirl. So that's the opening truck and take me out. And yeah, I mean, this, to me, this plays very similar to the one I was familiar with, and that was the Commodore 64 version. And you can tell which the vehicles, I mean, you can tell them apart. I think that's the armor car behind me. Can't shoot them. Now I can't try out the other joystick right now because I don't have a secondary weapon, which would be like oil slick and smoke screen, and I think there's a missile. All different kinds of weapons. But right now the other joystick's not doing anything. Oops. Just drove onto the ground, onto the grass. Yeah, driving on the grass is not good. That's a truck. So let's see what I get. I think this is oil. Oh yeah, it's oil slick. Hopefully you can see that. Oops. That's the guy with the armored spikes that come out, or whatever they are, that destroy your tires. So you get the nice Peter Gunn soundtrack every time you exit a truck. I think that song gets embedded in most of our heads when we play this game. Even when we think of this game, that comes to mind. One of the better soundtracks, I'd say, for these older games. So I'm finding this this control that I rigged up, this controller holder, it's not bad. I mean, it's definitely better than if I had to, you know, try and put the other joystick on my lap or knee or something like that. I don't have a table in front of me to really play these games. If I did, I could probably, like, you know, come up with another route to hold these things. Oops. I mean, this is not bad. I mean, I got my, whoops, got my pinky finger free to hit the button. Only problem is I'm finding it a little bit, you know, I have to use my thumb and my index finger on the joystick itself to have my pinky finger free for the other button. Like I said, if I try to do it the other way, I'd have to, like, kind of, oops, hold the joystick with one hand and then just have the other one kind of sitting there, and I'd have to take my hand off the joystick to, you know, hit the other button. Now, I do believe the Commodore 64 version had you use the keyboard. That's how they got around it. So you'd have to, it was a little bit more odd. You'd have to actually take your, you know, your hand off the joystick and push a button on the keyboard to activate these secondary weapons. Of course, the other option is to play without using them. Whoops. Which I'm sure a lot of people just resort to doing. You know, just forget about the secondary weapon. Just focus on getting your car through the level. At some point, you're supposed to hit water, and then you become a boat. Same concept, though. It's just instead of on the road, you're in a boat. That armored car is right in front of me. Okay, let's see what that weapon is. I think it starts off with oil slick. Yeah, then you get the, I think that's smoke screen. Oops. Looks like I'm going to run out. Oh, got an extra car. See if I can make it to the boat. Or the water. I don't like those spiky guys. I think the other blue thing, the long blue thing, is like a limousine. And they shoot at you. Trying to remember what if the missile will actually... Because I know there's a missile. I think there is one in the Atari one. I know there was one in the Commodore 64 one, or probably in the arcade too. I mean, this is an arcade game. This originally started as an arcade game and got ported, so... Oh, that guy just destroyed me. You know, it really feels like I'm playing bump and jump at some point. I mean, I did a comparison video on bump and jump, and this makes you feel like I'm playing bump and jump. Just obviously you can't jump. You can do all the other things and shoot, or well, not shoot, but you can what do you call it? Bounce these guys off the road. That's what I was trying to say. But you can't jump, so you can't land on them. But you can bang into them, knock them off the road. The bump and jump doesn't have the guns. So you can't shoot the things out of your way. Although I'm finding the bumping on this game weird. It's kind of weird. Like, it feels like it's not natural. Like, you hit it and they kind of shudder. You kind of shake a bit and move. Yeah, and shooting doesn't really give you a lot of time to get out of the way. You shoot the car, and you have to literally move the split second you shoot it, or else you run into its rubble. And of course that ain't good. Blows your car up. So far I haven't made it to the water, so I'm going to see if I can get there. Okay, there's my, whoops, there's my truck. I'm also finding it confusing as to how fast I'm going. I mean, you kind of have to go by the odd tree that goes by. Oh. Or, obviously, the passing traffic. Good thing is, when I don't have the secondary weapon, I can just focus on the joystick itself. Not worry about it until I get into one of these situations. I can't get over there. Oh, okay. Yeah, I find that the road being all black, and there's not a whole lot of detail, it's hard to tell when you're actually moving fast, or sitting still. A little tricky. I don't know why. Oh, here's the water. So I'm now a boat. I do remember the Commodore version anyways. You have to get into the the left-hand side, and there would be an actual launch for the boat. And if you missed it, then you didn't get into the water. I still have my weapon, which is odd. I can wipe out everything behind me with this. So this is pretty much, I mean, the same, well, except you gotta watch out for those mines. And of course tugboats instead of trucks. They're not going to have a truck in the water. That wouldn't make any sense. So they use tugboats. I think it's over now. Alright, now I'm back onto the road. I think I just died there. Pretty cool game though, and this little handy thing actually worked, surprisingly. Yeah, so this actually wasn't too bad. I mean, I felt it was kind of comfortable. I mean, this just fit. I mean, literally just fit. My first thought when I was looking for something that would hold this type of thing, was a Kleenex box, because I thought a Kleenex box might be the exact size and shape. Now, the thing is, now that I'm looking at this, a Kleenex box would have been a problem, because Kleenex boxes are very, very thin. I mean, you'd have to literally reinforce the thing with duct tape or something. I don't know. It would take a lot of reinforcing. So I'm glad I went with this option with the shoe box. And I can literally, like, reinforce this a little bit and, you know, make it look better if I wanted to. And it's actually a pretty decent idea. I mean, it would be better to make it out of wood or metal or anything else. Metal might be a little heavy. Because that was the other thing. I didn't want it to be too heavy. I wanted this something I can hold. Not necessarily something to plop on a table, but something I can hold like a joystick. So maybe metal would be a little bit heavy, but wood would be kind of cool. You get a light wood. You know, I'm not a woodsmith or anything like that. I don't have the woodworking tools. But this probably wouldn't be too hard to build. And then, of course, plastic. If you had plastic, something that would click it in. But I felt because of the way that the cord went in there, it held it into place, so I didn't have to worry about taping it or elastic bands or anything like that. Held it pretty well. The game itself, it's actually pretty decent. I had a lot of fun playing it. It's kind of an expensive game, unfortunately. When I was looking online for people selling it, people were wanting way over $50 for some of them. I think this one, they had it around 30 something, and I bargained them down to about 22, I think it was. But still, I mean, it's a rare game. I guess it's not, there wasn't so many of them made, maybe. I don't know. It came out late in the video game crash era, that type of idea. So, unfortunately, it's kind of a rare one. But it is, I mean, Valley Midway. It's got the Sega logo on there. I don't have many cartridges. In fact, I think I only have the one other cartridge. That's a Sega one. But, you know, pretty decent game for what it is. It's Atari 2600. You can't complain. The graphics, a little boring at times. I thought it was missing a little bit of detail. And the title screen was a little bit boring too. I expected to see a better title screen. But, you know, like I said, it's Atari. I'm glad it actually exists. It's a fun game, and I'll probably play it a few more times. Anyways, let me know what you think of Spy Hunter, and what you have for ideas for doing something like this. I know that there was a bunch of ideas thrown at me. This is the quickest one I came up with, and it actually worked. So it'd be interesting to hear what you have to say, and throw some comments below if you ever played this game. And I would really like to know what the real thing was. I think it's like a strap or something. Some kind of Velcro strapping thing. So I'd be really interested. So if anybody's actually played with the original one, or seen it, or knows what it looks like, or has a link to it, that'd be cool. Let me know in the comments below and we'll have a chat. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe to my channel. Talk to you later.